What if the most powerful people in the room never raise their voice? What if influence isn't about arguing, proving, or persuading, but simply showing up steady, calm, and unshakable? That's the quiet force of emotional independence, silent authority that moves the room without saying a word. Emotional independence transforms presence into influence in ways most people fail to notice because they are looking for the wrong signs. They expect influence to be loud, visible, or commanding. They imagine it comes from persuasion, charisma, or argument. But emotional independence is subtler. It doesn't shout, it doesn't perform, it doesn't seek recognition. It simply exists, and in existing, without need, it shifts the energy of every space it enters. The transformation begins internally. When you stop relying on external factors to stabilize your sense of self, your presence ceases to be reactive and becomes magnetic. People feel it even before they understand it. It isn't about being dominant or controlling others. It's about holding your center so completely that others unconsciously adjust around you. This kind of influence is quiet, continuous, and self-reinforcing. The more you trust yourself, the more stable your reactions become, and the more others instinctively respect your rhythm. Emotional independence begins with self-observation. Most people spend their lives externally focused, constantly measuring themselves against reactions, feedback, and approval. They check expressions, wait for signs of agreement, and measure the weight of their words against perceived judgment. This constant scanning creates a reactive presence, one that changes and bends depending on the environment. Emotional independence interrupts this cycle. It allows you to see without reacting, to acknowledge without absorbing, to engage without over-investing. When you are present in this way, influence is not a tactic but a byproduct of your clarity. People gravitate toward calm, composed energy because it offers stability in contrast to the volatility of others. The essence of transforming presence into influence lies in consistency. Influence is not built in moments of drama, but in sustained composure. The emotionally independent person does not fluctuate with praise or criticism. They do not perform for validation, nor do they shrink under scrutiny. This steadiness becomes a silent signal that communicates reliability and authority without uttering a single directive. Others begin to recognize that this person's energy is anchored, that they are not easily swayed, that their presence carries weight beyond words. When energy is stable, it becomes contagious. People start to adjust subconsciously, aligning their behavior with someone who is unshakable. This is influence born not of control, but of constancy. Another critical component is restraint. Emotional independence is not about expressing everything you feel. It's about choosing what to express and what to withhold. Words carry weight, but when they are used sparingly and intentionally, they carry more impact. A calm observation, a measured pause, or a thoughtfully delivered response often shifts dynamics more than hours of explanation or argument. Influence grows in the space between words, in the way presence alone communicates confidence and boundaries. The restrained self signals mastery of self, and mastery of self commands attention, respect, and alignment from others. Emotional independence also affects how decisions are perceived. When people make choices without the need for approval or validation, those choices carry a sense of inevitability. Others may question, resist, or even challenge, but the underlying authority of unshaken confidence makes resistance difficult to sustain. Influence, in this context, does not require persuasion because it is not transactional. It is declarative. The emotionally independent person's choices reflect alignment with internal standards rather than external pressures. This alignment radiates outward, supply guiding others toward recognition of competence, steadiness, and clarity. Relationships, both personal and professional, are transformed by this presence. When one person operates from emotional dependence, interactions often become negotiations for reassurance, attention, or approval. Conflict escalates, energy drains, and influence is diluted because reactions are reactive, inconsistent, or performative. When emotional independence replaces dependency, the dynamic shifts. Boundaries are clear, energy is measured, and responses are intentional. Influence becomes effortless because interactions are no longer transactions of emotional labor, but reflections of mutual alignment and respect. People sense that engagement is optional, which paradoxically increases their investment. The more unneeded your approval becomes, the more others seek your alignment and recognition. The transformation also alters perception of power. Most people equate influence with control, manipulation, or authority that must be enforced. Emotional independence demonstrates a different model. Power is not taken, it is reflected. It is a byproduct of unshakable stability, intentional presence, and consistent behavior. This power is quieter but more sustainable. People respond because they are drawn to clarity and calm, not because they fear repercussion or hope for reward. This distinction is crucial. Influence rooted in fear or obligation is fragile and temporary, whereas influence rooted in presence is enduring and self-reinforcing. Influence through emotional independence extends to communication. Words are chosen for clarity, not persuasion. Tone is steady, not reactive. Explanations are given when necessary, not as a form of defense or bargaining. This approach prevents energy leakage and preserves authority. When someone challenges you or behaves unpredictably, you do not escalate. You respond, deliberately maintaining equilibrium. This steadiness communicates confidence more effectively than any argument could, and it naturally encourages others to mirror composure rather than chaos. Emotional independence also cultivates an inner magnetism that cannot be fabricated. Charm, charisma, and eloquence can attract attention temporarily, but they do not anchor influence. Influence, grounded in emotional independence, is consistent, authentic, and recognizable even in silence. The subtle cues, measured speech, calm presence, unshakable focus, intentional listening, create a gravitational pull that others feel before they understand it. They respect space, energy, and time, and they respond to the authority embedded in steadiness, not in volume. Another dimension is resilience under pressure. Influence often becomes apparent in high-stakes situations. The emotionally independent person does not crumble under stress. They do not overreact, over-explain, or overcompensate. Their calm anchors the environment. Others unconsciously stabilize around them. This is influence in its purest form, a quiet, natural authority that guides the emotional current of the room without asserting dominance, issuing commands, or demanding attention. Presence transforms into influence because emotional independence changes perception. People start to associate calm, composure, and consistency with competence and trustworthiness. They begin to defer to judgment without needing explicit direction. They respect boundaries without needing reminders. They follow because the influence is magnetic, not coercive. Over time, influence grows cumulatively. Every consistent reaction, every intentional pause, every unneeded explanation compounds into a reputation that precedes you. Emotional independence also frees energy for intentional impact. When reactions are no longer dictated by external validation, attention can be directed toward meaningful engagement rather than defensive positioning. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to project stability and clarity. Every decision becomes a statement of alignment rather than a negotiation for approval. Influence grows not through quantity of effort, but through quality of presence. The final layer of this transformation is self-reinforcing. As presence attracts respect and alignment, it validates the choice to operate independently. Confidence strengthens, boundaries solidify, and the natural magnetism of calm authority expands. Influence becomes not a goal but a natural consequence of consistent, emotionally independent behavior. People notice, adjust, and respond without you needing to manage them. The room, the team, the relationship, or the conversation adapts around the stability you maintain, and influence becomes a silent echo of the inner alignment you hold. Silent authority grows when emotional independence becomes the lens through which you interact with the world. It is not loud, performative, or reactive. It is steady, intentional, and self-contained. The moment you stop seeking approval, you stop negotiating your presence, and suddenly, your energy speaks louder than any explanation ever could. People sense it immediately. There is a weight in your calm, a quiet confidence that does not demand acknowledgement but naturally commands attention. This is the core of silent authority, being influential without needing to prove it. Boundaries are the scaffolding of silent authority. Most people explain, justify, or negotiate their limits endlessly because they are afraid of pushback, rejection, or misunderstanding. Silent authority does not operate that way. Boundaries are stated clearly, calmly, and once. They are maintained without emotional overinvestment. This consistency creates an unspoken standard. You respect yourself, and others follow suit. When your energy is aligned with your principles, there is no need for persuasion because authority emerges from alignment, not coercion. One of the most powerful aspects of silent authority is its ability to make space for others while maintaining control. Emotional independence allows you to remain unshaken in the face of criticism, tension, or provocation. You are present without being reactive. You listen without needing to respond immediately. You care without compromising your stability. This presence changes the dynamics of every interaction. People unconsciously adapt to your steadiness. They feel the weight of your calm, and their own energy adjusts around it. Influence, in this sense, is a natural consequence of self-mastery. Silent authority also thrives in restraint. Over-explaining, overreacting, or over-engaging dilutes influence. By removing unnecessary explanations and emotional reactions, your energy becomes more concentrated, more intentional. What you choose to say carries weight because it is not cluttered by fear or a need to be understood. Every word, every gesture, every pause becomes deliberate, creating a presence that is both respected and subtly commanding. People begin to notice that your influence does not fluctuate with mood or circumstance. It is consistent, reliable, and anchored in self-trust. Another critical dimension is emotional neutrality. Silent authority does not mean indifference, but it does mean regulation. You do not allow external opinions, emotional volatility, or social pressure to destabilize you. When others seek to provoke, manipulate, or pressure, you maintain equilibrium. This stability communicates power more effectively than arguments ever could. It demonstrates that your value is intrinsic, not conditional on others' approval or recognition. Influence arises from this unshakable foundation. Silent authority is particularly evident in high-stress situations. While others may escalate, panic, or overcompensate, you remain centered. Your calm provides a reference point for everyone around you. Decisions are made with clarity, actions are measured, and your presence becomes the anchor in an otherwise turbulent environment. People start to defer to your judgment, not because they fear it, but because they recognize reliability. Authority in this sense is quiet yet undeniable. Boundaries in silent authority are also flexible in perception but rigid in practice. You choose when to engage and when to withhold. But these choices are never reactive, they are deliberate. This subtle control of access communicates value without having to assert it verbally. People respond to this by naturally respecting your limits. They learn that influence is not about force, manipulation, or drama. It is about consistency, clarity, and self-containment. Silent authority also reshapes relationships. Emotional dependence often results in overgiving, over-explaining, and over-compromising, which erodes respect and energy. Emotional independence, by contrast, creates a framework where interactions are intentional and energy is preserved. Others are drawn to this consistency and reliability. Influence grows not through coercion or persuasion, but through the magnetism of a stable presence. People begin to mirror composure, respect boundaries, and engage with intention because your energy sets the tone. A defining feature of silent authority is the absence of desperation. When you no longer need validation, your presence is unpressured. You do not compete for attention, seek approval, or react to every slight. This absence of need communicates confidence and self-trust. People unconsciously recognize it, and influence becomes natural. Your presence is no longer a performance to manage perception. It is a manifestation of internal alignment, and influence becomes a byproduct. Communication under silent authority is precise. Words are chosen with intention, pauses are used strategically, and explanations are minimal. Energy is preserved because every interaction is deliberate. You do not over-engage, and you do not invite debate unnecessarily. This precision strengthens influence because people learn to listen carefully, respect boundaries, and recognize that your decisions and actions are guided by internal alignment rather than external pressures. The cumulative effect of silent authority is profound. Each consistent, intentional, and self-contained action reinforces your presence. People begin to respond instinctively to your energy rather than your words. Respect becomes automatic, not earned through performance. Influence grows without effort because it is rooted in unshakable emotional independence. Stability, consistency, and deliberate presence create a gravitational pull that others cannot ignore. Silent authority also allows for greater impact over time, whereas reactive behavior dissipates energy and creates volatility. Emotionally independent presence preserves energy and focuses it where it matters. The influence you have is not fleeting, it is sustainable. Your presence, choices, and boundaries communicate competence and confidence without the need for constant justification. This is influence that lasts, shaping perceptions, interactions, and outcomes over the long term. Finally, silent authority reflects self-respect in a way that cannot be fabricated. People sense when someone's power comes from alignment with themselves rather than attempts to control others. This authenticity magnifies influence because it is undeniable. It does not demand recognition, but it commands attention naturally. Emotional independence, when fully realized, transforms presence into a quiet yet formidable force that guides, shapes, and influences without ever having to prove itself.